Welcome to the Unscripted Authentic Leadership podcast where we're seeking to lead change while also seeking to understand. I am your host, Lafayette Lane, joined by my co-host, John LeBron. We are here for another exciting, thrilling episode here on the Unscripted Authentic Leadership podcast. As always, before we get into the topic, we definitely want to say thank you to our supporters, our various supporters from all of our platforms, whether that be on our YouTube channel, their Unscripted Authentic Leadership. Those that are following us on Facebook, their Unscripted Authentic Leadership. You can follow us there at Instagram at Unscripted Leadership. And those of you that may not watch, but you tune in via listening on one of our major podcast platforms, whether that be Apple, Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and various others. To that, we say thank you. Listen, before we get into the episode, John, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. And yes, ditto that. Thank you so much, everybody. We're just getting started, and we're excited to have you with us and on the journey and sharing the word and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm good, man. Great week.
Yeah.
So excited about the episode.
Definitely.
How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Christmas time is here, and it doesn't really look like it outside. I'm kind of hoping for a white Christmas, but we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, let's get into the topic. I think last week we had a great discussion, a great conversation on death to external validation.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of just want to continue on that trail of keeping it real, as always, as we always do here on the Unscripted Authentic Leadership podcast. And this week, we're going to talk about just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Now, I know many of you will look at that. You'll say, well, I've heard that from Nike. And that is definitely where we got that from. But we kind of want to use it as a launching pad, not to talk about Nike, but talk about the essence behind just do it, what it means. And so really, on this episode, we want to talk about pursuit of just doing it. Now, your it may be different from my it. We all have different its. It may be a dream of opening a business. It may be a dream of being an entrepreneur, of going back and getting your degree, finishing college. Whatever your it is, it's time for you to just do it. And so we want to talk about how do we go forward in pursuing our dreams? How do we go forward in pursuing our vision? How do we go forward in pursuing the things that are in our minds? How can we go forward from imagination to manifestation? How do we go from concept to seeing that concept conceptualize? How do we go from having a blueprint to building it out to where we see it and we are walking in our purpose and in our destiny? So I want to talk about pursuit. Pursuit is the action of following or pursuing someone or something. Now, it's not just, I like that definition because it's not just something. It may be someone that may be out there that you're afraid to go after and chase after. That may be your wife, but you're afraid to go up and talk to her. You're afraid to make that initial step and to have that initial conversation. The job that you've been waiting on, you are qualified. You are more than qualified for it, but you're afraid. You have some trepidation on how to pursue. What actions, what steps, what necessary steps that you need to take. You think that it's outside of your reach and it's outside of your grasp. But I believe tonight, John and I are here to encourage you and to tell you that you can get up and go after it. And I began to think about this word pursuit, this whole idea of pursuit, bro. And the movie came to my mind about The Pursuit of Happiness.
Love that. Top 5 favorite movies.
Yeah, man. I'm sure many of you that will listen or watch this have seen that movie that is Will Smith and his son. And the movie is based around life for this single father who's African-American. His name is Chris Gardner. It's based off a true story. and Will Smith plays the role of the single father who is evicted from his apartment, and he has his young son, who is his real son in real life, Jaden Smith, and he finds himself with no place to go. And so he's a single father. He's evicted from his apartment, no job, no place, no resources, and he has a son to provide for. And he's an African-American male on top of that as a single father. And so eventually when you go through the movie, Chris he lands a job as an intern at a prestigious brokerage firm. And that is his goal. That is his dream. That is his aspiration to follow after the Wall Street journey. And so he goes and gets this job as an intern, but the job does not pay him any money. And so he has to live in shelters and he has to endure many hardships while going through this pursuit of chasing his dreams, working for free and being homeless, but he does not allow those hardships and those setbacks to cause him to stop his pursuit and to stop his pursuit of his happiness. He refuses to give in to that despair as he struggles to create a better life for him and his son. And I thought that was interesting that sometimes we have these goals and we have these dreams and we have these ideas that I need someone to pay me right away in order for me to put the work in. I need to see the dividends and I need to see the get back and the return on my investment right away in order for me to get up and pursue my pursuit of happiness. But Chris in the movie, like I said, he was willing to work for free as an intern to chase the dream because he saw beyond the dollar value. He saw that I can gain experience in the infrastructure of how Wall Street operates. I can understand how to make trades. I can understand how to work stocks and bonds. And so in your pursuit, you have to broaden your vision. You have to broaden your mindset. You have to broaden your mentality that I may not always get what I want right away, but every move I make is a step forward in the right direction in my pursuit. It's interesting because this whole idea of the pursuit of happiness was what the country of the United States was built upon, right? Was the fundamental right that was mentioned in the Declaration of Independence to freely pursue joy and live life in a way that makes you happy, as long as you don't do anything that is illegal or violates the rights of others. And so you have to really sit down and do a self-assessment in the mirror and say, what is my pursuit of my happiness? Because it's not always a dollar value. Your pursuit, some people's pursuit of happiness is working at McDonald's, being a manager. And that's okay if that's what makes you happy. Someone else's pursuit may say, you know what, I want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500, of a Fortune 100 company. And that's okay as well, as long as your pursuit is it's based around your internal values and not based off what we talked about last week, someone else's perspective of you and trying to fulfill their happiness for your life. John, talk about what this whole idea about pursuit and what that means to you in what we're talking about this topic tonight in Just Do It.
Man, that's so good. So yeah, just think about those words. It's the pursuit of happiness, right? Yeah. People always say, I've always, a lot of my family's been entrepreneurs for several years. And a lot of people say, well, they come back with, money is not going to make you happy, blah, 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 blah. And I 100% agree. It's not. Buying a jet ski doesn't make you sad. I had a friend that says I've never seen somebody sad on a jet ski. Is a joke, right? But it really doesn't. It's not going to make you happy, right? It's the pursuit that makes you happy. The pursuit is what makes you feel fulfilled. The pursuit, right, is you reaching for a purpose or a mission or an end goal. And it starts with a vision, as you alluded to. The reason Chris Gardner was able to take that role as an intern making nothing is because he had a vision. He knew what the big picture, what the end game was going to look like.
Yeah.
He already had that cemented in his mind. So in the movie, when his wife, who eventually just leaves him, and his son says, "Well, that's a step backwards," he says, "No, it's not." And he was always in pursuit. He was selling other machines and
Right.
so forth. They were just not amazing products. It wasn't that he was lazy, or wasn't that he wasn't trying. He
Yeah.
just had a vision, and he was still calibrating the best route, the best direction, the best way or vehicle to get to the vision he had for him and his family.
Yeah.
And so he messed up a couple times, had a couple bumps. Oh well. He was moving forward, and then he obviously hit rock bottom. Saw the opportunity to intern, and went for it, because he knew that like, as soon as he saw it, it's like he knew this is what's going to get me there.
Right.
True story. If you've never seen the movie, it's great. And he eventually starts his own company. They don't talk about that in the movie. And becomes very successful. Anybody can follow him on LinkedIn and still watch. He's still at this. He's probably in this, I would guess, in his 60s now, and he's still reinventing himself and doing new things and so forth. Anyways, yeah. So the pursuit, guys, it's about what brings you happiness. Is not the income. It's not to say I have a big company. That's not it. It's you pursuing your vision of what you think your life is supposed to look like, right? The reason so many people are unhappy is they ask themselves when they're 18 the wrong question, right? Everybody's saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, saying that means your mind has to automatically assume you're going to be an engineer or a doctor or something, right?
Good, bro.
But what it doesn't do is it doesn't help you understand the direction of the what pursuit you want to take for the vision of your life. What you actually so what happens is people say, well, I think the engineer will get me this picture, right? And so what they do is they take the engineer, but their goal is really a vision of how they want to live. They want to live on a mountain, in the mountains, on a lake, whatever. They want to build a church, something.
Yeah.
What they really need to ask is, what do I want my life to look like? And then reverse engineer. But we're always taught, what do you want to be? And you're 18 and you take some assessment that says, you like to cook, you should be a chef. And the reality is you don't want to be a chef. You just want to cook in your own house and for your own spouse or something, so forth. I only say that because that was my assessment in high school, that I should be, a cook, and I never enjoyed cooking. So I don't know how that happened, but anyways, I digress. So.
Yeah, man, that is so good. Not so much what do you want to be, but what do you want your life to look like? The issue with that is, bro, and that was so good. That was so good. I never heard nobody put it that way before. Because if I have a picture of what I want my life to look like, then I can understand what route of pursuit I need to take. The issue is that we see roadblocks, and we see challenges, we see mountains, we see hills that we have to climb, and we allow those challenges, we allow those mountains, we allow those hills to deter us or altogether stop us from pursuing our dreams. But you said it was that grit, that grind, that struggle, that blood, sweat, and tears that brings joy. It is not so much the end goal, is that I enjoyed the process, so now I can bask in the reward because of the struggle. And we see that with athletes. Athletes will tell you all the time that the reason why the victory was so sweet, because for 1 hour on Sunday on the field, or for 1 hour on Saturday on the court, we won the championship. We won the NBA Finals. We won the Super Bowl. We won that Lombardi Trophy. 60 minutes of game time took 10 to 15 to 20 years of grind, of training, of working out, of dieting, of sacrifice. That's what makes the victory so sweet. It was the pursuit. It was all the times we lost in the first round. It was all the times that we lost in overtime. It was all the times that I missed the game-winning shot. It was all the times that I made the wrong pass. When I finally broke through that wall is what made the victory so sweet, was because of the pursuit. But I want to talk about what these challenges are, because there are things that do stop us from pursuing our dreams. And there are 5 things I want to talk about. And then, John, I want you to talk about your 3 failure diseases, because I want us to get into that. I want to talk about quickly just these 5 things that stop us from pursuing our dreams. And I guarantee you that you can identify what one of these 5, all of these 5, or 3 of these 5. We all can identify with these things that stop us from pursuing our dreams. The first thing that stops us from pursuing our dreams is fear. And we know that we've heard that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. That it's sometimes, or most of the time, is a mirage. It's just a feeling. It's not even absolutely true. It's just a shadow. But fear is one of the main factors that stop us from pursuing our dreams. And fear doesn't have to be big. Fear doesn't have to be something that's so momentous and scary. A lot of times fear comes in small packages. It's everyday things that stop us from moving forward in the long term. And it can be small. It could be things that stop us in our career. Whether we think, well, I can't give that presentation at work because I'm not a great speaker. I struggle and I'm not well spoken. I'm afraid to speak in front of crowds, not realizing that you've already got that gift inside of you. And if you take that next step, it would take you to the next level. And I said it from the beginning of the episode. It can be simple as approaching that guy. It can be simple as approaching that girl that's stopping you because you have that fear. And so we have these fears that stop us from attending networking events of our own that would take us and propel us to the next level in that connection that we need to network so we can go on and pursue bigger and greater things. We have fears of failure. We have fears of rejection. And here's the thing. Sometimes we have fear of success. That what if I am successful? What if I do break through? What's going to happen then? Will my life ever be the same? Will I lose myself? And so sometimes people are not fearful of failure. They're fearful of succeeding. And what we don't realize is that fear is a survival mechanism designed to keep us safe. But if you ever ask or interview or sit down and have a conversation with a successful individual, they'll tell you the reason why I was successful or the reason why I am successful is because I don't play it safe. I make risky moves. I do some uncalculated things. I don't always stay in my safety zone. I don't always stay in my comfort zone. Once I came out of that circle or that zone of comfortability, I was able to launch and go to the next level. John, talk about that first thing that stops us from pursuing our dreams, about fear.
Yeah, like you said, false evidence appearing real. Fear is actually 100% made up if you think about it, right? Wow. It's your mind assuming an outcome before it actually even happens, right? Yeah. Now, sometimes, that is, people say, well, what if you I saw a video of a man who was on a trail and there was this big cougar that landed right in front of him, or mountain lion or something. And a lot of you have seen this on Facebook or YouTube, and he's backing up quick, and he walks backwards for probably a quarter mile for real. It's like a 10-minute video of him walking backwards while this mountain lion, this giant cat, is kind of jumping at him periodically, because apparently he's probably too close to some babies somewhere.
Yeah.
And yes, you're afraid, right? But if you think about it, he's assuming he's about to get eaten. The reality is the cat probably has no intentions of actually, eating him. He just wants him to back up. And so we would all be afraid, and we would all go back because our instincts tell us you need to back up, right? Our self-awareness says we need to back up.
Sure.
But the fear is still fake, right? You're making up what you assume is about to happen. For all you know, if you take 3 steps forward, the cat may run away. I don't know. I'm not blaming the man. I would have backed up too, probably faster than he did. But the reality is fear is us making up a dangerous outcome or a bad outcome from something that we actually don't even know is going to happen. How often do we see when somebody, we do it all the time, like someone will send us something like, hey, can we talk later? And you're like, oh gosh, what do they want? What do they want? Right. And you think about it all day long, and it's on your mind, it's on your heart all day. You're talking to your spouse. They want to talk to me. The boss wants to see me tomorrow morning. I don't know. And then you show up and like, hey, I got a special project. You've been doing so good. I just wanted to know if you would be willing to lead this special project. You're like, oh, you're just assuming something bad's happening, right? That fear. So, excuse me. The best way to cure fear is action, right? Action cures fear.
Good.
Your fear ends, basically your fear, as soon as you just one step into that action, your fear is gone. Because your mind is, before you start that action, like one split second, as soon as you take action, your fear typically goes away. Because up until you take that step forward, your mind is wondering what's about to happen. As soon as you take that step, your mind automatically starts navigating the next best decision on real time. No longer on should I do it? Should I do it? I don't know. What if this happens? What if I don't know? Maybe I should. Oh, and step. And then all of a sudden your brain goes into let's keep going. You hear that about skydiving. People say, Will Smith did a great video actually on this about skydiving. You should watch it. Look it up on YouTube. Talks about him and his buddies wanted to go, and he was like, okay, so you get out on the plane, and he's like, all the way up until you're about to jump, you're just like, I don't even know what to do. And he says, when you're doing tandem, the guy says, all right, we're going to go on 3, 1, 2, and then on 2 he jumps because a lot of people grab the bar on 3, and he goes, and he said, as soon as you're getting ready to leave, you're like, oh no, and then as soon as you are in the air, he said, you forget about all the fear, and it's just like totally amazing, right? My wife and I went parasailing this this past summer, and it was on her bucket list, I heard, and so that day I booked it. It was not not something we were gonna do, and I'm like, so we're in the car. She saw some up on the ocean, and we visit Florida every year, see family. We're on the ocean every summer, and she's never mentioned it. Oh, it's on my bucket list, but it makes me nervous. I got on my phone and booked it within 10 minutes. I'm like, makes her nervous. Get rid of that fear, and it's on our bucket list. Check that off. Don't let that ruin a bucket list. We're there, and they say, all right, here's who's going to go. And they put us in an order, and we're sitting there watching some people go, and she's so nervous. And we get in. I'm more antsy. I'm really not personally that nervous of the height thing, but she was. And as soon as we started going, she had the best time. Now she tells everybody about it. It's on the refrigerator. She's doing it again, all that kind of stuff. Guys, that was a huge fear. All of a sudden it went away as soon as you take off. So yes, I was a little winded, but action cures fear. So
action cures fear. The only way to get over your fear is to simply just do it. I think you got to have somebody in your life that will pick up the phone and say, you're getting over this fear today. Check the people in your life that you got people around you that will let you stay in your fear or saying, no, today is the day you will conquer this and you will get over this. That was good. The second thing that stops us from pursuing our dreams is a lack of resources. And so a lot of times we've all said this line, I would love to, but I can't. I would love to, but I don't have the time. I would love to, but I don't have the money. I would love to, but I don't have the expertise to do it right now. Don't get us wrong here. Those are legitimate barriers that will stand between you and what you want. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is that, are we finding a solution to the problem, or are we using it as an excuse for not pursuing it? Because there comes a time and a place to where you have to say, I am no longer going to use these lack of resources to hinder me from going forward. I'm no longer going to use these excuses. I don't have the time. I'm going to make the time. I'm going to get a second job. If I need more money, I'm going to find another stream of income. If I don't have the expertise, I'll read a book on leadership. I'll read a book on self-help. I'll get the resources. I'll Google it. I'll YouTube it. And so these barriers don't have to be permanent. They can be just temporary barriers that you say, you know what, I can and I will get through this. So you can research your dream. You can research your dream job. You can research your dream home, your perfect vacation. And oftentimes what you'll find out through research is that what you had in your mind, what it took to pursue your dream, it really didn't take all of those things. Once you research it, you'll find out that maybe it doesn't take as much as you think that it does. And so you can create a plan and make it happen from there. And that's kind of synonymous with number 3, because the third thing that stops us from pursuing our dreams is not having a goal or action plan. And so I think sometimes, John, we get the word goal and wish convoluted. And so these terms kind of overlap each other to where many people say they have a goal when really you don't have a goal, you have a wish. And so you say, I wish I could quit my day job. And I wish I could quit that so I can bake cupcakes all day. I wish I could quit my day job so I can pursue, and I want to be a stay-at-home mother. I wish. The problem is that when you wish, you don't create a plan. When you wish, you don't have a strategy. But when you have a goal, you'll write down that business plan. You'll write down what are the steps I'm going to take to open my bakery? What are the steps I'm going to take so I don't have to work an hourly job where I have to clock in and clock out and have to be back at a certain time for lunch? And so you write out that strategic plan, and you write out the necessary actionable steps that you can take so you can see measurable results. And so that's the difference between a goal and a wish. A wish is saying, I wish I could, and you're just putting it out there with no plan of action or no plan of attack. But when you have a goal, you're going to say, okay, by the end of 2020, I'm going to have this done. The first 6 months of 2021, I'm going to be this far in my finances. By the end of the first quarter of 2021, I'm going to have these necessary steps to take to lose the weight and to open up the business. I'm going to have the concept done by the end of March, and so forth. And so you have to realize the difference between the goal and the wish. And so today is a good day to start making that action plan. Today is a good day to start making the necessary steps in order for you to take and to fulfill your pursuit and go after your dream. John, did you have anything on that?
Yeah. So, proper preparation prevents poor performance, guys. Like you said, a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? Sometimes you just got to step out and say, I'm going to do this. I heard someone once said that God didn't give us a wishbone. He gave us a backbone, right? Like, get up and go. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you got to set a goal. So here's how I do it. First thing I do is I set a huge goal. It's like a ridiculous goal, something big and bodacious. Not for everything, but on some big dreams, right?
Yeah.
So a big goal. And don't get ridiculous. I'm big on self-awareness, right? So if you've never done anything significant or any big business goals or whatever it is, start with something that makes sense. But put a vision out there for like 10, 20 years down the road, and then break it down to, okay, so that's what I envision long term. But what can that look like in 5 years, right? So here's my 5-year goal. And then you reverse engineer that to a 1-year goal. All right, so that means for 2021, I want it to look like this, December 31st, 2021, right? And then you use that to guide your action plan.
Good.
All you have to do is reverse engineer it into smaller pieces, right? It's called think big, plan small, right? Another way to think about that is to big goals, but small sets of action. And so take your year goal, break that down into monthly goals, right? Which then breaks into weekly and daily actions. Your daily habits are going to tell you whether you're going to hit those goals on a monthly and yearly basis. So a lot of people say, well, I can just do a little bit on Saturdays and on Sundays. Well, really, you need to be setting to be as consistent as possible. So if you have a sales goal, you don't want to make 25 calls on a Saturday. It's a lot better to make 5 calls over 5 days, right? John Maxwell has a book. I don't remember what it's called, but he talks about 5 chops a day. Says you can go out with if you want to chop down a tree, you can take an axe and you can go out to the tree and you can chop that thing 100 times if you want in one day and knock that down if you really want to, but chances are you're going to be exhausted and you'll never get that tree chopped down. Or you can just chop at it 5 times a day. He says, so grab that axe, go out to that giant tree, 5 hits, 5 swings, and then put it down. Next day, 5 swings. Next day, 5 swings. I guarantee you eventually the tree's falling down, right?
Absolutely.
But if you say, I'm going to go out today and chop it down no matter what, I can't guarantee that it'll fall because I don't know how many swings it's going to take until it falls. And you don't either. So it's a lot better to form consistent and persistent and consistent habits on incremental goals. Stretch goals, but not ridiculous goals. Something that you're like, I think this is going to be hard to get. But if I put my mind to it, I can go for it. That's setting a goal.
Excellent stretch. And I love how you said it doesn't have to be ridiculous, but it does stretch you. And that incremental, that 5 chops a day, that is huge. That is great. I think we have mentioned that quote on another episode, this quote about the way that you eat an elephant is 1 bite at a time.
Yeah.
And so the last 2 things that stop us from pursuing our dreams, we talked about number 1, fear. Number 2, lack of resources. Number 3, no action, no goal or action plan. But number 4, the 4th thing that stops us from pursuing our dreams are potential objections. And this is what we talked about last week. We talked about deaf to external validation and not looking for others to validate you. The 4th thing that stops you from pursuing your dreams is potential objections, not even guaranteed. This is a big one for many of us because it is basically the modern day version of what will the neighbors say? If I go after my dreams, what will the Joneses say? What will the Babysitters Club say? What will the Breakfast Club say? What will people think of me? And so we allow other people's perception and other people's potential objections to our goals and our pursuits to stop us from our lives when it's not their lives, it's ours. So when we're really afraid of doing what we really want because other people might object to it or they might not understand it, and because they might be a Debbie Downer, we really have to ask ourselves, does it really matter? And we really have to outweigh, are you going to continue to live your life through the prism and through the lens of someone else? Or are you going to own your own life? John said something critical. It's not about who you want to be. It's about what you want your life to look like. And you have to stop giving the paintbrush of your life to somebody else that's painting the picture of your life for you. They're painting the picture of your life for your children and for your children's children, for your wealth and for your health. You have to take back control of the paintbrush of your life. And so the potential objections as number 4, but number 5, the close of the five things that stop us is we have an upper limit problem. We have an upper limit problem. Gay Hendricks wrote a book called The Big Leap, and he has a theory that says we all have an upper limit problem. Basically, Hendricks says that we all have an inner thermostat within us that sets how much happiness, success, and love we think we deserve. His theory is that when we move beyond this self-imposed limit, the limit that we put on ourselves, we do something to sabotage ourselves. And so we think picking a fight with your spouse after that you got that big promotion because you have that upper limit problem within yourself, you self-sabotage to bring yourself back down to that old and familiar level. This is a tricky problem. This is not something simple. This is something that takes self-evaluation, that you may need counseling for, that you may need to go through a process to mentally challenge yourself every day and to do some internalization to say, hey man, I've got a problem and it's not anyone else. I have an upper limit problem that my image of myself and the way that I imagine my life, I don't think that I deserve but so much. I don't think that I don't deserve but to make $40,000 or $50,000 a year. And I don't deserve $100,000 a year. I don't deserve to live in a gated community. My kids don't deserve to go to the best schools. My kids don't deserve, I don't deserve to drive what I want to drive. That is an upper limit problem. And the reality is that many of us are not living the life that we should be living. It's because we keep self-sabotaging ourselves. That as soon as we make progress, we do something to set ourselves back 5 steps. So we take 3 steps and we self-sabotage and we put ourselves back 5 more steps because we don't believe that we are good enough to be where we are. We don't think that we are good enough to sustain where we are. So we bring ourselves back down to that familiar place and to that familiar level. But can I tell the audience today that you are worthy of the best? You are worthy of living a limitless life, that if you want to drive what you want to drive, you can do that with hard work and you don't have to feel bad about it. If that's what you want to do, if you want to get a master's degree, a doctorate degree, whatever your dream is, if you want to own a business, if you want to be your own boss, don't let your own fears and your own insecurities stop you from being the best you that you can be. Sometimes our biggest enemy is our inner me. It is the innermost being of who we are, and our fears and our insecurities and the things that we stop ourselves from in our mind because of our past experiences, or nobody in my family has ever experienced this success. And there's no way that I can. Nobody in my family has ever graduated from college. There's no way that I can. That is absolutely not true. You can get over that upper limit problem, and you don't have to be a thermostat. You don't have to allow those inner things that's on the inside of you to dictate the rest of your life. John, kind of talk to us if you have anything about the upper limit problem or the potential objections. And then I want you to go into close us out with the 3 failure diseases.
For sure. Yes, that is an issue, upper limit. I mean, it's the first time I've heard it that way, but it's very true, right? And that it's kind of the, and don't take this wrong way, anybody, but it's sort of the old fat kid syndrome, right? When people grow up, if they grew up as the heavy kid in school, for me, I was the small kid. So same idea. So I'm not knocking anybody who grew up with weight problems, right? I had underweight issues. So I was tiny, right? So therefore, when I got older, I was always told I was so small in a sort of negative way, like, oh, you're so small, you can't do these things. Then it almost rolls into other stuff, right? Always inferior. Well, it's like when somebody grows up and they feel like they're always overweight and they get older and say, I'm going to diet and get in shape, but they always revert back. Not just because of habits. I think they feel like this is who I am. I hear all the time people say the phrase, if it's in the cards. And I hate that. Like, what does that mean? They basically assume that good things happen to people or bad things happen just because they just happen that way, right? So like, oh, or when they see someone asks, about maybe wealthy people, right? They say, well, that's just not, we've never been that kind of person, right? That's why I love it when I see someone first time they go to college or something like that, first one in the family ever. It's great because they're stepping out into an uncomfortable situation for the whole family. There's nobody that could give them guidance in their own family to say, well, I've done this and your dad's done this and his dad's done this. And so we could easily show you. No, it happens a lot where people say, I'm the first one. So we have no clue. And yes, there's people to help, but in general, you're kind of figuring out your own path. It happens all the time. People self-sabotage, with success because the fear of the responsibility of what that brings happens all the time, more than you'll know. And often we don't even realize we do it. And so that's why it's important to build yourself and read books and know that you're worthy and you have what it takes to be successful. You got that far, so the next step, you'll be fine there too. You don't have to go backwards. So anyways, the 3 failure diseases comes from a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. This was probably the second or third self-help book I ever read. And these are on chapters 2, 12, and 13. I refer to them all the time, and they're great. They're basically procrastination, excuse-itis, and detail-itis. And they are exactly what they say, right? So procrastination is simply just putting things off. There's an old story about, there was a little voice, and basically the devil was telling somebody, hey, you can do this. They're whispering in somebody's ear, you can do this. Don't worry. You got what it takes. Eventually you can be successful, but don't worry. Let's do this tomorrow. Right?
I love it.
And you know what happens the next day, right? Don't worry. We'll just do this tomorrow, right? It's a lot easier to tell someone, why don't you do it tomorrow, than to say you can't do it. Procrastination. We always do it. Quit putting things off tomorrow, what you can do today. So many people do. It takes so many people a day to do what they should be able to do in an hour, or it takes them a week to do what they should be able to do in a day, and so on and so forth. Like, if you just put your mind to it, you can do it right away. Quit procrastinating because you're afraid, either from laziness, which is hard. I can't fix that, or because of fear of what's going to happen. We already talked about that. Excuse-itis. That's so easy. Lafayette talked about excuses, right? We all have some. I always say excuses are like armpits, right? Everybody's got 2 and they all stink. And so, your excuses need to become reasons. Okay. So people say, well, I have 3 kids, or I don't have any money, like you alluded to earlier, right? Is this an observation as an obstacle, or is this the conclusion, right? Meaning your mind will determine the path based on will navigate the situation based on what you tell it. So you can say, I can't because I have 3 kids, or you can say, I must because I have 3 kids. I can't because I don't have any money, or I'm going to because I don't have any money, right? Yeah. You determine how your mind figures this out. It all based on your words. So you tell your mind to seek a solution, it automatically starts seeking that path. When you predetermine that it can't happen, it immediately stops working towards the solution. And I promise you it'll happen that way every time. You don't say, I can't because I don't have money, and then tomorrow morning you'll wake up with, ooh, I know how I can do it now. Nope. When you say, I need to figure it, I'm going to figure out how I can get find the money to do whatever I need to start this business. Your mind will start figuring it out. And there's this thing called the law of attraction. And I promise you solutions will show themselves to you. I know it sounds like some hocus pocus. I promise you it's true, and I promise you it works. You just have to practice it. And that's a law that works for everybody. Just some people just don't use it. And the last one is detail-itis. And this is a lot of people have this. Certain personalities have this the most. And it's you have to get everything perfect before you take that first step. Yeah. And I promise you that means they never take the first step. I've seen friends who say, I want to start a business, and they buy equipment. They do all this stuff. They spent thousands on equipment and different things and websites. And you know what held some? I have a friend that held them up for at least 2 or 3 years. The logo. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds silly, and I love this person. It's one of the closest people to me. But the logo. I was like, dude, just pick something, and then later on you can change it. I mean, nobody's gonna notice, right? He's like, you're right. You know, I'm like, come on, the logo. But we all do it. We all do it. Like, I'm gonna do this. I just don't know if it needs to be red or green. And they'll just sit there and ping pong. I'm like, go with red. If you don't like it next month, make it green. I mean, come on. The little details that mean nothing to the success of the business. We sit here and fight on. I'm not saying don't put some detail and work into it, but there's certain things that if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it just doesn't matter now. So that is the 3 failure diseases of The Magic of Thinking Big, which is a book I highly recommend every one of you read.
Absolutely. And as John just detailed those 3 failure diseases, that is our read of the week. And I will be putting that on my book list. Just that little snippet that you just gave about the procrastination, you said the excuse itis and the detail itis. You can do it, but tomorrow. Ooh, yes.
I don't know if that story's in that book. I don't remember it being there. I heard that from your speaker somewhere, but yeah.
That's so good. So the audience that's listening to this, that is our read of the week, The Magic of Thinking Big. If you want to just do it, you cannot be a small-minded individual. And so we want you to think big. We want you to live big. This has been another episode of the Unscripted Authentic Leadership Podcast. I know you all have enjoyed it just as much, if not as more, as we have of us providing this content to you, of this episode topic this week of Just Do It. And as always, we want you to continue to support us. You can find us there on our Facebook page. You can find our content, full podcast episodes on our Facebook page, Unscripted Authentic Leadership. You can find our full podcast episodes on our YouTube channel, Unscripted Authentic Leadership. You can also find podcast clips, little excerpts, what we call the unscripted reel from the full episode. If you don't want to watch the entire episode, you can find some nuggets there. You can also follow us on Instagram at Unscripted Leadership. And those of you that are faithful to tuning in, to watching or listening rather, you don't watch us, but you listen to us in your car. You listen to us while you're at work, while you're working out at the gym. We appreciate those that are listening to our podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, TuneIn, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and so many more. Any podcast platform, you can type that in, Unscripted Authentic Leadership, and leave us a review, leave us a comment, give us a rating, give us a thumbs up. We sure do appreciate it. And as always, if you are interested in being a guest on our podcast for our Rise Up series, you can email us at unscriptedleadership@gmail.com. If you have a story of your pursuit, you have a story of, maybe you have a similar story to Chris Gardner or something of that nature that you want to share, that, hey, John, hey, Lafayette, I have a story that I want to share with you guys that would encourage and that would motivate and that would inspire our audience, that they can rise above their circumstances. They can rise above anything that life has thrown their way. We want you to email us. All stories are welcome. You don't have to be ashamed. This is a safe space. Email us at unscriptedleadership@gmail.com. We will get back to you. We would love for you to be a guest on our show. Listen, as always, we thank you for tuning in. And as always, as we always sign off, We are here at the Unscripted Authentic Leadership, seeking to lead change while also seeking to understand. We are here to build bridges and not walls. Bridges connect and walls divide. I am your host, Lafayette Lane, my co-host, John LeBron. Until next time, we pray that you be the leader that God has called you to be. God bless you.